All right, here's something you got to check out. We just came down the tunnel here, little roadway, which is, you know, we came out on this side. Check that out. That is just freaking awesome. Of course, you got the big smokestack. Heading to another part of the facility. Check that out. That is freaking awesome. All right. So here we go. Another part of the facility.
Get close enough to them.
That's hops over there. Look like a big tuba sticky icky. Alright. Just waiting on everybody to come in.
All right, how are y'all doing so far? Pretty good? Okay, I'm gonna turn these doors up so we can get air conditioning here. There we go. All right, so this is our brew house, our historic brew house that was built in 1891. And this lobby where you all are now sitting or standing was originally used as a train depot where shipments of grains and hops were once unloaded. And that is why this door over here, it's so large and it's arched at the top because the train would back right up here literally into this lobby and unload the grains right here. So right now, if I could direct your attention to that marble statue of Adolphus Busch, that is a life-size statue of Adolphus, and he not only created Budweiser, but he was the first brewer that came up with a national system for beer distribution. He was also the first American brewer that used pasteurization, artificial refrigeration, and refrigerated rail cars to ensure the freshness and quality of his beer in the marketplace. During his time as president here at our St. Louis brewery, he was also chief stockholder, silent partner, director, and owner in more than 30 businesses here in the United States and abroad. So he's quite the businessman. Since we're in the brew house, I'll describe how we brew beer. But before I do that, you need to know the ingredients that we use to make a Budweiser. So I'm going to quiz you all. Just scream them out. Do you know those 5 all-natural ingredients? Anybody? You can cheat for the first 3. Rice, I heard. Barley malt, good job. Hops. Water and yeast, good job. So I'll tell you a little bit about each ingredient. Over here we have our rice. We get our rice from the southern states of Louisiana and Arkansas. Rice gives our beer a nice light body and a crisp taste. Here in the center we have our barley malt. We use 2-row and 6-row barley malt. Barley malt gives our beer a lot of its flavor, also a lot of its color. We get our barley malt from the upper Midwestern and the Northwestern states. Now over here to your left we have the hops. Hops are the spice of beer. They give the beer a lot of its natural, a lot of its bitter taste and also a lot of its smell. A lot of its aroma, that's the word that I was looking for. So hops, how many of y'all are familiar with hops, how they grow, anybody? Not so much. I wasn't before I started working here. So if you turn around, that's a painting of an old Bavarian style hop farm. And the vines in that painting, those are hop vines. And they grow straight up in the air. They are a perennial vine. They grow about 15 to 20 feet up in the air. And then we chop them down once a year. When we do that, we pick off the bud of the plant. That's what the hop is. And they look just like little tiny green Brussels sprouts. Now, the 4th ingredient that we use to make Budweiser is water. How many of you are not from St. Louis? All right, a good amount of beer. Does the water taste different here than it does everywhere else? Pretty much. From your hometown? Shake your head. Yeah. So I think water tastes different no matter where I go. Throughout the United States, throughout the world. So in order to get that consistent base for all of our beer, we carbon treat and triple filter all of the water that we use at all of our breweries before starting the brewing process that makes all of our Anheuser-Busch products, because we want to get that, like I said, that consistent base for our beer. So the fifth ingredient we use to make Budweiser is yeast. Yeast is the most important ingredient probably in any American style lager beer, because American lagers are pretty light. The yeast gives the beer a lot of its flavor. And the yeast culture that we use today is directly descended from that very same yeast culture that Adolphus Busch brought over here in 1876 when he brewed that very first Budweiser. So y'all got the ingredients down? Yeah? Okay, so I'll finally describe the brewing process. You can look at either diagram, and I'll just talk this process out for you. The first step in our brewing process is the milling. That is where the rice and the barley malt, they get ground up, precisely weighed, and then prepared for the brewing process. The rice is then combined with water in a cooker. The barley malt is combined with water in a separate mash tank. And then those two mixtures are combined, allowing the natural malt enzymes to break those starches that are in the grains down into both fermentable and non-fermentable sugars. This process takes about 2 hours, and it is at this time in the brewing process where the alcohol content of your beer is determined, also how many calories and carbohydrates will be in your beer. It's all determined during this mashing process. So from the mashing, all of these grains get strained out in the lauter tuns, and you're left with a clear amber-colored liquid called wort. Wort is just the name for the liquid before it's fermented into alcohol and can be called beer. So from that straining process, that wort gets pumped into our brew kettles. That's where the hops get added. The hops will boil with the wort for about an hour longer. Then those hops will be strained out. The wort will then be cooled down and pumped into primary fermentation tanks. The wort will spend about 5 or 6 days in these primary fermentation tanks. This is where the yeast is added, and this is where the wort is fermented into alcohol and can finally be called beer. But it can't quite be called Budweiser because it hasn't been through beechwood aging, which is that secondary fermentation process that I just got done explaining to you. Beechwood aging for a Budweiser takes about 21 days. After this, the beer is filtered, stored, cooled, packaged, pasteurized, and shipped out to y'all. So from start to finish, it takes right around 30 days to fully brew a Budweiser. So you can think about that the next time. It takes you 5 minutes to drink one, right? Maybe, if that. So, all right, do y'all have any questions? I know it's a complicated process. You may not be familiar with it, so anything? Feel free to ask us at any spot on the tour. In just a minute, we will be taking the elevators up to the 3rd floor of our brew house. We will take the elevators up to the 3rd floor and then walk down 3 flights of stairs. So if stairs are a problem for anybody, just let me know. I'll be glad to take you back down in the elevator. What else? It's going to be a little bit warmer upstairs than it is outside. We were up there earlier today. It's not too bad, but if you become uncomfortable, the hallway is air conditioned, so let's just stand out there as we finish up. I'm going to play a short audio clip when we get up there that will describe everything you'll be seeing, and I'll point those machines out to you. And photography, once again, more than welcome, but just when we're up there, we'll only be up there for a few minutes because it's so hot, so just keep that in mind when you're taking your pictures. You might want to try and do that quickly. So we will be getting on the elevators.